Welcome to the Further Light Podcast, presented by Wisconsin Freemasonry, helping you accomplish your Masonic goals through education and more light. And now, I present to you Brother Chris Ludke.
Listeners, scholars, brothers, this is Brother Chris Ludke, and today I want to continue our summer short series by exploring, well, a piece that we don't use in ritual anymore. This is the charge at opening, and we will also be looking at the charge at closing, and I do have permission to look at this. I did have a conversation with Most Worshipful Brother Davy White as Grand Lecturer, looking at this material because we don't use it anymore. Where am I drawing it from? It's coming from a 1908 Constitution, Laws, and Edicts put out by the Grand Lodge of Wisconsin. And so this was at one time part of our work, but it is now exoteric work. So outside of our usual material for the state of Wisconsin, it is probably still used in other places. But let's take a look at the charge opening. I'm going to read through it, and then we can go through and kind of tear it apart a little bit. So, to start, charge at opening. The ways of virtue are beautiful. Knowledge is attained by degrees. Wisdom dwells with contemplation. There we must seek her. Let us then, brethren, apply ourselves with becoming zeal to the practice of the excellent principles inculcated by the craft. Let us ever remember that the great objects of our fraternity are the restraint of improper desires and passions, the cultivation of an active benevolence, and the promotion of a correct knowledge of the duties we owe to God, our neighbor, and ourselves. Let us be united in practice with assiduity the sacred tenets of the craft. Let all private animosities, if any unhappily exist, give place to affection and brotherly love. It is a useless parade to talk of the subjugation of irregular passions within the walls of the lodge if we permit them to triumph in our intercourse with each other. Uniting in the grand design, let us happy ourselves and endeavor to promote the happiness of others. Let us cultivate the great moral virtues which are laid down on our Masonic trestle board and improve in everything that is good, amiable, and useful. Let the benign genius of the mystic art preside over our councils, and under her sway let us act with the dignity becoming a high moral character of our venerable institution. Now, this would have been given on every opening of a lodge, and what it's doing is it's calling on us to do certain things. The first few lines, the ways of virtue are beautiful, knowledge is attained by a degree, wisdom dwells with contemplation, is a reminder of those things that we should be focusing on, acting with virtue, developing our knowledge, and, through experience, developing wisdom. Then it goes on to talking about the application of the craft, that we need to apply the lessons of the craft within the lodge. How many times have we come into lodge angry about something that we know is on the agenda or upset with another brother? And this is a reminder that we shouldn't allow those desires and passions to get in the way of the promotion of the correct knowledge of the duties we owe to the larger society, to God, our neighbor, and ourselves. It's reminding us to be united and focus on those tenets of Freemasonry: brotherly love, relief, and truth. It's saying that if there are animosities, we need to look past them. How many times have you had an argument with a brother in lodge only to chat with him pleasantly over a beer afterwards at Lodge South or tavern or whatever the situation might be? It happens all the time, and it's reminding us that despite any differences we might have on a specific issue, we should not apply that to the individual overall. It says it is a useless parade to talk of the subjugation of irregular passions within the walls of lodge if we allow them to triumph in our intercourse with each other. That reminder that at the end of the day, the reason we study these teachings is to apply them. And the first place that we should be applying them is within the walls of the lodge. And then, united in the grand design, let us happy ourselves and endeavor to promote the happiness of others. In other words, let's work on these virtues, on these tenets. Apply them to ourselves so that we can live a better life, but also apply them to others so that they might find further happiness, further light. Let the benign genius of the mystic art, Masonry, preside over our councils, and under her sway let us act with dignity, becoming the high moral character of our institution. In other words, remember who we are. Remember that if we are trying to develop ourselves, to improve ourselves, that should come out in all of our interactions, not just outside of the lodge, but within the lodge. This entire opening is focused on the actions that will follow within the lodge. And it's particularly beautiful, I think, if you think of it in terms of reading it, for example, before a major debate. For example, your lodge might be looking at putting solar panels on the roof, and it looks like this is going to be a difficult argument to have within the lodge. And that might be the perfect time for this. And this charge was used for a very, very long time, not just in Wisconsin, but throughout Masonry, globally, really. And you could imagine what this charge would mean. I mean, imagine you are meeting in Boston in 1775, 1776. The revolution is in the air. It's palpable. And this is reminding us that no matter which side a brother might be on, a loyalist to the crown or revolutionary or somewhere in between, that we must treat them as brothers, that we must treat their ideas as separate from the individual. Just because they believe one thing doesn't globally mean they are a good person or a bad person. And so you can imagine the importance of that. Or imagine it's 1860. 1861, the Civil War is raging. And we have brothers in places like Superior who have ties to Kentucky who might have Confederate leanings, and they're meeting in a Unionist lodge. Again, that reminder that the lodge is a separate place. We've removed ourselves from all those things that are outside, and we need to respect each other, respect the virtues and the tenets of Masonry when within it. You can see how important this charge would have been at one time. And that's why I wanted to bring it up. I think it's a very interesting piece of Masonic history. And on the next episode, we will deal with the charge at closing, which takes a different direction. That being said, thank you for joining me, Brother Chris Leakey, and the entire Further Light team on your quest to find more light through Masonry.
Are you interested in learning more about Freemasonry in Wisconsin? Visit wisconsinmasons.org to learn more about Masonry and access further educational content and more light. Once again, that address is wimasons.org. Any questions, comments, or suggestions, please email us at education@wisconsinmasons.org. And thank you for listening.